Yeah, I put my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more
There's
times.
5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.
Oscar Bevis, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by the last Gareth. Davies joins me. Gareth, I know you're on Talk Sport in about 10 minutes, so we're going to run through the biggest stories in boxing. There ain't a shortage of them at the moment. So if you just want to kick on, Gareth, Fury Joshua stuff is, the statement out today from Joshua's team. They've accepted Fury's deal, and I suppose we roll a bit closer.
Yeah, it looks like December the 3rd at Cardiff is the date that's being discussed in the venue. And it's really, boxing's a very weird sport, and it's a weird science promotion in boxing sometimes. And I just wonder, just to kind of like do a potted history of what's happened here. I mean, if you think it was back in June 2020 that Fury said, I've got 2 fights with Joshua. Then obviously we're in COVID and they couldn't put it in the stadium at the time. Then we had 8 months of negotiation into 2021, kind of wrecked and scuppered and scuttled by Deontay Wilder winning his arbitration case. In fact, it was in April, I think Bob Arum rang me 4 times one evening, and I was driving and I didn't see my phone ringing, and I ended up pulling over at a motorway services, and I didn't have anything to record it with. Because you can't record on your phone while you're on your phone. And I was scrambling around for a pen and a bit of paper. I remember remembering his words and ringing the Telegraph and saying, can you just like hold the back page? I need some space, because he's just told me the fight's dead in the water. And obviously in May, Wilder won his case. That was going to happen in July or August. It was delayed till October. So this huge fight that we'd all been back and forth, covering the negotiation from. Eddie Hearn saying we'll have an answer in a couple of days' time, and week to week to week that went on. And, at the time, remember, they had all the belts together. Ring Magazine and WBC was what Tyson Fury held, and Joshua had the IBF, WBA and WBO belts. So we had this massive fight, reportedly worth £200 million. The first one was going to be in the Middle East in August, and would we come back to maybe the Principality Stadium in December, or would we wait till a year and they both have a tune-up and they'd fight again at Wembley, and it would be this amazing occasion, second fight. 50-50 split and a 60-40 for the winner-loser, if you remember all this. And weirdly, since then, of course, Joshua's lost twice to Alexander Usyk, albeit in a much better performance in the second fight. Fury dealt with Dillian White handily at Wembley Stadium on April 23rd on an amazing night. I don't know if you were there or not, but it was an amazing night, an amazing atmosphere, and in a weird promotion as well, because we didn't see White till Wednesday of fight week in the whole promotion. And with Fury's like outpourings of different things over the last, say, month or 5 weeks, about retiring and fighting the mountain. He told me at one point he was fighting the mountain, the world's strongest man, and there was Manuel Charr in the frame and Derek Chisora in the frame. I only knew these things because I'd been on a couple of tour dates with Tyson Fury on stage with him, and they're very transparent when you're with them. And as you know, I have a close working relationship with Fury as well. And I think what's happened, this is just my take on it, and I do have a lot of soundings behind the scenes. In Fury's mind, it's on. This fight is on. In Joshua's mind, it's on. It works for Fury that they do the December 3rd date, because it pushes Joshua straight back into camp, going against conventional boxing wisdom, which is to have 2 tune-up fights and knock over a couple of bums and get back in winning order and work with Robert Garcia and Angel Fernandez for 2 more fights. But I think events that are going on in the world affect people as well. And I don't know if I'm right, and I haven't been able to talk to Tyson Fury about this, but instinctively, and I have people close to him say the fight is on. People close to Joshua say to me, this is news to me. Obviously, Eddie Hearn's over at Canelo Golovkin, but other people, all of them working on this behind the scenes, saying they're doing their utmost to make it happen. They're doing their bit. They're trying to be transparent. I think Frank Warren on the other side would love to get this over the line in the next week. Was this a bluff in the first place? Was this just a call out that Tyson made out of the blue because he thought, I don't want to fight Manuel Charles, Derek Chisora. I want to fight Joshua. Let's call him now. Let's get it out there.
And he's done a few of them as well.
And he's done a few of them, but I just think it might have a series. You know, there's that great phrase, a series of unfortunate events. Well, I think these are a series of fortunate events, fortuitous events, where that's what I say. Go back to saying what a weird world boxing is sometimes. Well, maybe all the time. That there's no book on it. There's no, you can't go and study a master's in how boxing works, for example. You can't go, you've got to go to the University of Life to see how it works. And maybe in this sequence of the University of Life, Joshua's thought, you know what I am? I'm going to carpe diem, seize the day. Why go out and have, there's two other big fights there for him, Dillian Whyte and Deontay Wilder, in my view. Really big fights. Love to see them. Regardless of what happens with him and Fury. And I think Fury handily outpoints him or works him out, and this is just my view, works him out and stops him late. With some drama in the fight as well. We're living a drama early on. Joshua's dangerous early. He's going to be dangerous, no question. It's an end game fight for him if he takes it. But the dilemma is has this just come about? Are we just making the possible probable here? You know? Is it, if it does come off, it's great. I mean, I wrote a column last week saying conventional wisdom is that Joshua restores his confidence, gets a couple of wins under his belt, works harder with Garcia and Fernandez. But the other side of it is we live in a time where it's been very uncertain the last few years with COVID and things changing, and you know, Fury could break a leg and never box again. Joshua could, you know, something happened to Joshua where he hurts his eye in a sparring session. So maybe, and I hope so, behind the scenes thinking, you know what, there is a willingness to get this happen. Joshua is biting the bullet, you know, and going, yeah, I'm going to go straight back into camp. I feel good enough to do it. I'm going to try and put myself on the line for this. And as you would just about say, it's a dangerous fight for him. It's because where does he go from here if he really doesn't match up well to Fury and Fury does to him what he did to Dillian Whyte? You know, that's where I see it at the moment. You know, and I think that's where they are with it. You know,
just a quick one on the Eubank Senior situation. Obviously, he has no actual jurisdiction, but it's just a strange claim, is it not?
It is. It's a well, listen. For a start, let me say this as a father and a grandfather, I completely understand him talking about his regard for the health of his son. That's without question. And we forget that sometimes. But the press conference was a month ago, wasn't it? Pretty much. And maybe, I remember Chris telling me a couple of days after the press conference, Chris Eubank Jr. telling me a couple of days after the press conference, he couldn't get hold of his dad. And he said, this is very unusual. And maybe he was having feelings about it. Chris managed to get maybe a week later or 8 days later, maybe 10 days later, get his dad into camp and say, Dad's going to be in my corner. I think promotionally that's right. And as he said, I can't have Roy Jones Jr.'s voice and my dad's voice is too much. You know, one in one ear, in the other. And so seniors, and also, and I've written this today already, and it's out there. Chris Jr. 2 days after that Friday press conference, Thursday or Friday press conference, that was brilliant press conference. You remember?
Yeah, it was really good, really good.
Yeah, they were phenomenal, both of them, and they were in the face-off in the gloves are off. They were phenomenal. I thought Conor stuck to his guns, and you know, I think there was a sense that Chris just doesn't believe he's big enough to fight him, and you know, not experienced enough, and maybe not good enough. But we shall see. Hopefully, on October the 8th, at the O2 Arena, sold out O2 Arena, and watched, and it will be watched by many people on DAZN's pay-per-view. Chris told me 2 days after that press conference that his dad had said, wait for a stadium fight for the following year. You have a couple more fights, he has a couple more fights, and build the fight. So Chris Senior has definitely had some other thoughts, and saying, as I said, as being a a father and a grandfather. Chris Senior has lost one of his sons, and that's a really serious thing to happen in his life. Really serious. Losing your children is devastating. And Chris Eubank Senior is not a person to showing a lot of his emotions. And I've seen him many times around Michael Watson, because I'm very good friends with Michael Watson, and he is very hurt by what what transpired between him and Michael Watson. And I've seen Chris emotional about things, and I think he probably had a moment where he thought, I'm very concerned about my son. To go back, and that's where it lies, I think. But to go back to your original question, no, he doesn't have jurisdiction over Chris Jr., but he is his father, and Chris deeply respects his father. I see that. I've been around him. I know he does. I've talked to him about it. And he's proving something to his dad all the time, He like Connor is to Nigel. It's quite a beautiful thing. It's deep. It's a deep thing in their family DNA. So Chris, under the boxing, I spoke to the Boxing Board of Control today. I spoke to Robert Smith, and he said we're weight monitoring Chris Eubank Jr. and we have no concerns at present about the weight he's losing. It's a tough weight cut, and the Boxing Board do monitor people, so he is being seen regularly, and they will pull him out if they have to, I'm sure, because them's the rules, and we don't want boxers going in and it being unsafe. Many people think Conor Benn is too small anyway to be fighting Chris Eubank Jr., who has fought George Groves, who fought Carl Froch. Froch fought Andre Ward. So you can build that package, and you think, this is a guy who's easily been able to handle himself at 168 pounds, never mind, 160. What's going to be fascinating is how much weight he's allowed to put on when he does his second weight measurement on the morning, I think it is, of the Saturday of the fight. But according to the Boxing Board of Control today, there is no concern at this present time. And Chris Eubank Jr., because I tried to chat with him today where he was and where he was up to. He's not talking today, but he was in training.
Yeah, my dad in the street against a heavyweight.
I've gone back to the dad. I've punched him a few more times.
5 blokes outside my front door. Can you come and help
One
me?
hell of a fucking story, so stay tuned.